Hey, Unruly Subjects, it's Chenjerai, and I need your help to keep the show going strong. If you love what we do here, consider supporting us by joining our Patreon community. It's the best way to back the show, and you get some incredible benefits in return. Membership starts at just $5 a month. I mean, there's nothing that cheap, at least in New York. And you immediately get ad-free episodes and exclusive premium episodes. That includes interview outtakes and other extras you ain't gonna hear anywhere else. But that's not all. You can access the Unruly chat and polls. When we have a live event, you're gonna get the pre-sale tickets and the merch. Oh my God, the merch. You know the merch is gonna be fly. And you receive invitations to our Q&A live streams and, my favorite, our annual exclusive hangout with me, the producers, and a special guest. So yo, come on people, join the Unruly mob. Visit patreon.com/unrulysubjects. And thank you for making this show possible. Rohome Productions. Do we approve the minutes from the last meeting? Approved? Okay, good. We're going to enter executive session. I want to put a motion on the floor to nominate myself as the host of Unruly Subjects. Is there any discussion? Well, I'm the only person in this meeting, but I guess why should you be the host of Unruly Subjects? Well, that's a good. Thank you for raising this. The reason why is because it was sort of my idea. I mean, I created it together with Rohome with the idea that I would be the host. So that's my argument. That's what we're putting on the floor. Any more discussion? All right. Can we get a motion to vote on this? Yes. So moved. Seconded. All right. All in favor? You can see I have my hand up. All right, y'all. Looks like it was unanimous. We now have a host of Unruly Subjects. It's important to proceed with democracy, you know? All right. What's up, y'all? Yeah, we finally here. My name is Chenjerai Kumanika, and Unruly Subjects is in the building. We outside. We in your ears. We everywhere. And you here too. Congratulations. Look, everything you going through, you still made it. Shout out to Rohome Productions. Shout out to my wife, Sadaka. Shout out to my daughter, Yola. And welcome to all of you. Listen, I am so glad you're here. I'm so glad we're going to have this time together every week. And this week, we're setting things off right with a very special guest, comedian Roy Wood Jr. That's right. We ain't come to play. What you thought we came to play? And after a really powerful conversation with Roy, we're going to hear from somebody equally exciting, my daughter Yola. That's right. And Yola has a challenge for us. She has a challenge, something we all have to get involved with. And I promise you it's going to be real fun. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. And that's just the beginning, man. I mean, the guests, the conversations, the trouble I got lined up for y'all on this show. Oh my God, I get excited just thinking about it. And speaking of trouble, I want to kick things off this week with a provocative question. How do you negotiate your love life with the struggle? You know, we got a voicemail, so go ahead and leave us a voicemail at 215-436-9212. How do you negotiate your love life with the struggle? For me, the struggle looks like, I got a lot of organizing meetings and events, and we got a 6-year-old daughter. And look, sometimes when we get home, we still working, still in front of the computer or whatever, and it, puts a strain on things. Like sometimes I look at my wife and I'm like, damn, I miss you, you know what I mean? But we got to keep fighting. For you, the struggle might look different. I don't know what you got going on, where your love life is at, but I want to know. And how do you negotiate? How do you do that? Because we got to keep fighting, but we still want to have joy and love in our lives. So 215-436-9212. Leave us a voicemail. You are agreeing to let us use it, and I can't wait to hear what y'all share with me in future weeks. Next up, I want to call my man D Noble to talk about something funny, but I want to acknowledge there's a lot going on in the world. And this week, we're not going to bombard you with headlines. but there is one story that I really want to slow down on for a minute. I want to talk about Sudan, because I'm seeing some stuff in the news this week, just ways that this crisis has escalated. I mean, this is a brutal war that's created the world's largest internally displaced population. Nearly 12 million people have been displaced inside Sudan, and close to 19 million children are out of school. And it just hasn't been in the headlines enough. So we're going to have some folks come on in future episodes to really break this down and talk about some of the unruly stuff people don't want to talk about, the complicity of the US, the complicity of the European Union, and all those things, right? But what I also want to talk about is the way that Sudanese people are actually coming together to help themselves, right? There's this young doctor that I've been seeing stories about this week named Taseer Ibrahim, who was herself displaced multiple times from Khartoum. She finally found safety near Sudan's eastern border. And she and other women doctors were just thinking about what they could do about the fact that there's, in addition to the tremendous loss of life and everything else, there's just mental health costs for people who survive, right? Real trauma. And so they formed something called the Youth Voluntary Mental Health Organization in partnership with the UN Refugee Agency. And they're running counseling programs and camps, setting up child-friendly spaces, offering support to survivors of gender-based violence. And so for me, this was important because it takes this context out of the typical frames and the way we talk about Africa and talk about the Sudanese people, like they are agents in caring for themselves. And also, I think it really reminds me of things that people are doing here, right? And, you know, the scale of harm here is different, but there are people stepping up to find ways to network and provide mutual aid for people with SNAP who lost their SNAP benefits, or a network that can fight ICE, right? Like, there are ways people are stepping up that we don't have to actually ask permission for. We don't really need politicians and stuff for some of the things that we have to do. So of course we want like a deep structural response. That's the only way we're ultimately going to win. But we also, there's a lot we can do ourselves. And I think it's important to kind of connect those dots. So we need to keep Sudan at the top of our radar. And if you're interested in other stories that I'm paying attention to, you should definitely check out our show notes and roll over to unrulysubjectspodcast.com. I'll post some stories there, some links. You can hear me offer some analysis and sometimes some context to the news. But I should just say, there's so many dope journalistic outlets that I follow that you should follow and support. And that's another thing you'll get access to there. This week, I'm looking at Sudan, climate change stories in Jamaica, in the Philippines, Gaza and the West Bank, ICE in North Carolina, new data centers, the whole shebang. So check that out. But now I'm going to give myself permission to do something totally unserious. I'm going to call up my man, D. Noble. Demetrius Noble is one of the smartest people I know. He's a poet, he's an organizer, he's a professor. But today, he's going to be our unserious news correspondent.
What up? What up? How you, homie?
Hey, yo, what is the most unserious news story on your radar right now?
The most unserious?
Unserious. You know what I mean? Like, I can't persuade you to watch Succession, so you may not know the full meaning of the phrase, these are not serious people. You know? But, you know, everybody knows, like, you know, look, there's all kinds of really serious news. What's the most unserious news out there? Because you be out there on the internets, man. You know.
I did learn about this whole motherfucking quarter zip movement over the last few days.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I'm not on it, man.
Oh, you're not hip?
No, man.
Well, don't feel bad. I just learned myself, but I just was seeing all these references to like quarter zips, and I'm like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about a bag of smoke? What they mean? And they kind of find out like it's some reference to like quarter zip pullover sweaters.
And another thing, I'm a quarter zip dude now. Simple. I don't do that Nike tight stuff what y'all little boys do. I can't do that. I'm elegant. I'm classy.
We don't do Nike tech. We don't do coffee. It's straight quarter zips and marches around here.
This is the new kind of grown and sexy, or like if you are a respectable professional young man, you rock the quarter zips. But it got like the little zipper that starts like halfway up the chest.
Oh, those joints.
Yeah, they call them quarter zips, like a quarter zip sweater.
So they like that's supposed to be the new John?
Yeah, I guess it's replacing, like, you know what they used to call brunch boot niggas. It's what you wear, like, out and about. I guess if, you know, a woman wants to take a guy seriously, like he not a YN or something, he got to show up on the date with a quarter zip.
Oh, it's like the respectability, like,
Yeah,
because if you show up to the date with the poo shiesty, you know what I mean?
right.
But if you got if you got the quarter zip, it's like, oh no, he's respectable.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go pick up a couple, but I'm gonna wear mine with the shiesty and come into work. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have the shiesty, whatever. I might throw some gold teeth in, everything. You know what I mean? Just like, mix it all up. You know what I mean?
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that counts. That counts as the unserious. Yeah.
All right, fam.
All right, my brother. You take care, man.
You too, bro.
Peace.
Next up on Unruly Subjects, my interview with Roy Wood Jr. Listen, for those of y'all who don't know, Roy Wood Jr. is an incredible entertainer and comedian. You might have seen him on The Daily Show. He was a Daily Show correspondent. You might have seen some of his specials like Lonely Flowers. He's got a new book out, but Roy Wood Jr. is just somebody who I feel like knows how to meet the political moment as an entertainer. And we talked about all kinds of things. We talked about Cop City. He definitely spilled some tea on The Daily Show that you're going to want to hear about, but we also talked about his book. And I can't wait for y'all to hear this. So coming up after the break, Roy Wood Jr. Hey, Unruly Subjects, it's Chenjerai, and I need your help to keep the show going strong. If you love what we do here, consider supporting us by joining our Patreon community. It's the best way to back the show, and you get some incredible benefits in return. Membership starts at just $5 a month. I mean, like, there's nothing that cheap, at least in New York. And you immediately get ad-free episodes and exclusive premium episodes. That includes interview outtakes and other extras you ain't gonna hear anywhere else. But that's not all. You can access the Unruly chat and polls. When we have a live event, you're gonna get the pre-sale tickets and the merch. Oh my God, the merch. You know the merch is gonna be fly. And you receive invitations to our Q&A live streams and, my favorite, our annual exclusive hangout with me, the producers, and a special guest. So yo, come on people, join the Unruly mob. Visit patreon.com/unrulysubjects. And thank you for making this show possible. All right, Unruly Subjects. You know what I mean, my people? We have in the building the Supreme Roy Wood Jr.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be in the building, man. Everybody's outside and we're relaxing. We doing it big. Ain't nothing in the bathroom. Ain't no toilet paper in there, just 10s and 20s. We just doing it big like Bun. Bun B said that on a Cash Money album like 25 years ago, and that's just stuck with me. Ain't no toilet paper in the bathroom, just some 10s and some 20s. Players. Right? Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Well, listen, we are so excited to have you on the show today. And the thing I want everybody to know is Roy has a new book out. It's called Man of Many Fathers. And I read this book. I want you to know I read it from cover to cover. And
Thanks, man.
This book blew me away. I mean, there's just something in it for everybody. You're going to learn about it. For me, there was stuff in it about parenting. There was stuff in it about life as a black man in America. There was stuff about, just how people relate to money and what it's like to navigate. I mean, there's so much in here, and there's definitely some real jewels about comedy, about entertainment. So I definitely want to spend some time and get into this book because I feel like it's a crucial intervention right now into our dominant conversation.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm here.
But to start out, I mean, so you did this Cop City piece where you went right into the mix at a very intense time in this struggle where there was an effort to build this whole new policing institution in Atlanta. And and you actually went in there. You didn't just like you didn't phone it in. You were in the forest with the protesters
in there with
who
the
were
people,
literally
man.
trying to stop Atlanta from building this complex.
These folks they masked up, they on watch list, their families getting threatened by the feds. Like it was like the police were there when we went into the forest to talk to the forest defender. And for the people who don't know the story, they're building a police and fire training facility, which is going to focus on crowd control and rioting and like every aggressive aspect of policing that is proven to not reduce crime. To keep them from building it, people, black and white, just went and started living in the trees that were supposed to be cut down. And, they cutting up the bulldozer cords or, whatever they could do to slow the progress of the construction of that. And, it started getting tense because one of them died in a shootout with the police,
That's right.
Which they will say, hey, the police were there. Great. I'm not here to unpack the shooting. The point is, after that forest defender's death, shit got tense.
I know that they were ultimately, I think they still built it, but I know like some contractors pulled out. They was like, we don't want this mess,
They delayed it and they did as best they could to bring attention because it wasn't just about anti-policing, but it was also the elevation where the cop city was going to be built. You cut all those trees and get rid of all of that soil, replace it with concrete. You have a new watershed that's going to flood more black neighborhoods downstream.
Yeah, man. No, I guess my question is coming into that on a show that's one of the most progressive, serious news shows, even though it's a comedy show, but coming in, how did you approach covering that from that angle?
I don't think with the Daily Show, it's always find the truth first, and then you backtrack and find the jokes. It's something serious, but then the jokes are on how did this happen or how do we solve it? You don't have to make no jokes on people actually being in the forest. A lot of it was just man in suit scared of the woods because you're looking at how they live. But what you're really showing underneath that joke is just how dedicated they are to this. There's people living up in the trees, man, taking a dump in a bucket and just by a cord running that third bucket down and somebody dumping it and I'm never coming down. I'm dedicated. Like that level of dedication to something. So in an instance like that, the joke is already there. The joke ain't about defending the forest or police reform. It's just, are you ready to pee and take a dump in a bucket?
That's right.
And so that's your chuckle. And then it's, now tell me seriously, what's going on? What's happening? What have you seen? Blah, blah, blah. Then, man, folks be coming in there, burning their encampments at night, taking all their supplies and vandalizing their stuff. Like it was a really, really ugly thing. I just put it that way.
It was ugly, but I think that it was also, I was recently at a conference where some of the people involved in that struggle were talking about, just doing a really like what we learned, what other movements and people who want to deal with public safety can learn from this, and what we didn't accomplish. And I just appreciate it, and I thought that it was interesting. I said, man, who else could have really gone on there and had the level of trust to get that level of access? But I also want to talk about something different because I know in Man of Many Fathers, you talk about having pitched a different story and, one that maybe seemed like less spectacular because Cop City was, we all know that was spectacle.
It's a great piece.
Black activists and trees, cops.
Yeah. I went kayaking with a black person in Atlanta. Like we was just out there.
Right. It was funny because I saw you out there in a kayak. I did a story. One time I reported a story for This American Life, right? And we also had to report in a kayak. So I was like, but my kayak part got killed. So I did all that. I respect the kayak reporting struggle. But my thing is, I want to get to this other story because I think that, listen, one thing you'll learn about me is that I'm what people probably think of in some ways as a stark raving leftist, very progressive person, although I think it's really important to have these conversations in a smart way. But one of the things I think that sometimes, I think that there's some certain kinds of conversations where people who believe in democracy miss the opportunity to connect with communities, and with the Black community in particular. And I think these are very well-meaning people, because obviously trying to cover Cop City. You're covering something that is very important at the top of the agenda. But HBCUs are also something that have to be at the top of the agenda if we're serious about education, if we're serious about how most Black folks get educated. So tell us a little bit about what you pitched and kind of what happened.
Well, before I tell you, I'll tell the people, but first I want your reaction. Were you disappointed or did you understand why what happened?
In terms of when I found out, like, oh, wow, this other segment could have been there?
Yeah. Because this is a story. This is a conversation about the story that I wasn't allowed to do, and I had to go and do Cop City instead.
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny you say that because I was really torn. I mean, I was like, when you told me what it was, I was like, oh, Cop City, I made Empire City. My whole thing is I do a lot of work on policing. But when you explained why, you said, listen, there's a particular conversation that I have the opportunity to have about Morris Brown that probably maybe nobody else is going to be able to go at this and bring out some of the issues.
Oh, I'll say that ain't no probably. There's no one in the building more qualified than me. And that's not a knock on my other correspondents. It's part of the reason why we send Jordan Klepper to talk to the Trump people at the rallies, because he's literally the most qualified. They will be the most comfortable with him. They will say things to Klepper they would never say to me or Ronnie Chang or Desi Leidig. They're just not. And so with the Morris Brown thing, basically what happened, we were headed to Atlanta for Atlanta Week. And, during midterms, and every 2 years, The Daily Show goes on location to shoot live from a particular battleground state. We've done Florida, we've done Atlanta, we did Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. But we go down, we start plotting the stories that we want to do. And this is 3-4 months out. And so when you're in Atlanta for Atlanta Week or Florida for Florida Week, all of the field pieces that week are strictly about that state, an issue affecting that state. So you want to do a deeper dive into what's happening in this place. And so everybody pitches in the Daily Show, everybody in the building. So you have let's just say you have a Georgia Week folder, right? And everybody in the building is pitching ideas into that folder. That folder gets whittled down to 12 ideas. Those 12 ideas get whittled down to 6. You shoot 5, 4 air, and then the 5th just goes straight to digital, right? So once it got down to the 6, like the 6 or 7 pieces,
right? As
a correspondent, you kind of know which one you're going to get assigned. You know what it is. So because I've done so much other stuff with policing on the show, I did the ride along with Klepper with the Appleton Police Department.
Right.
I did a ride along in New Jersey with Newark PD to take a look at sanctuary cities when all of that was kind of bustling, and that was the thing pre-COVID. So I've done a lot of policey stuff. I was like, they're probably going to give me Cop City. Cop City is probably the piece, and it's a Black issue affecting Black. I get it all. Around the same time, that same year, and this is 2022 midterms where we're going to Georgia. And around that same time, Morris Brown is back online. Morris Brown shut down 20 years ago, and now you have this Black college that's opening back up, and you got Joe Biden going and saying he's going to give money to the Black colleges. And then you had all the Black college presidents during Trump's first term going there and kissing the pinky ring. And so
that's right.
So
I remember that.
So these colleges are struggling. And now you got a brother trying to reopen one. Hey, my dude, I don't know if you know, this ain't the time to be opening no Black college. That was going to be the sarcastic entry point into that story. But my father is Morehouse. My mom is FAMU. I'm FAMU. I'm qualified to have a real conversation with the president of a bustling Black college that's trying to make a comeback. What the hell does that look like? How do you even restart a school? And what hurdles are you up against? Like forget, oh, we need money for this program, for the grant, to get the science, to get the lab. Y'all don't even have doors on some of the buildings, bro. Like, you're dilapidated. So you really are starting from square one. And I felt like If this is Atlanta week and we're talking about Georgia and we're talking about black colleges, that was the story that I wanted to tell. But ultimately, when things start getting whittled down and that list go from like 40 stories to 12 to the 6, Morris Brown didn't make the 6. And I understand why, because Cop City, there's 40 cop cities happening in this country right now.
Right. There was relevant info there, as you described, for other people who are in those struggles.
It's a national story that's connected to something local. Morris Brown is not. This was a more niche story than what the Daily Show, for what they're going to spend resources on. This is, like they were tightening down the hatches. We just don't go out as often. And I talk about that story in the book because it was kind of one of kind of just another little log on the fire of like, damn, man, it's a lot more stuff I want to be doing. And I don't know if I can do it all here. And I can't do it concurrently because the job of correspondent is too demanding. And you're co-hosting now every third or fourth week. So now you really can't go nowhere or do anything. So, yeah, it was like the argument I was trying to make in the building was that you can still do Cop City and have any correspondent in this room do Cop City because it's a police story. It's affecting black and browns, but the entry is police. Whereas the black college, if I have a chance to talk to the head of Morris Brown, bro, you know what kind of questions I could ask and get away with?
And then there was another iteration of this that came up that would have involved Deion Sanders, right?
Yeah, the same game. Prime, when Coach Prime was still at Jackson State, I had an opportunity. The woman that was doing PR at the time at Jack State went to FAMU. We came out of J school together. And she just called me on a whim just in November. I can get you Coach Prime if you want him. And I'm like, set that up. And as soon as we did, the Coach Prime thing was a little different, though, because we would have needed to interview him fast.
Right.
Like, if you get a yes on Monday, you need to be putting the microphone on him by Wednesday, no later than Thursday. And we didn't have, our building just don't move that fast for peace. They just don't.
Right, to get the whole infrastructure up and running to be able to do that.
It's a whole thing in the legal department. And then, well, what are the producers think? And also, this is 3 weeks before Trevor leaves the show. So interview Deion Sanders and air it when? Under what? So I'm like, y'all, like, just interview him, and then we'll figure it out later.
Oh, man, that one hit me. I ain't gonna lie. Ooh. That one, when you told me that could have, when I read that could have happened, and that didn't happen, and I was like, oh, that one hit me right in the gut. So I mean, they both did, but again, I think I'm hearing you in the sense that it's not necessarily about trying to diss the Daily Show. It's
just a frustration with the process. Like, well, this is how we do things. We need a story that connects to a broader national conversation that may not just focus solely on Morris Brown and solely on black colleges. I really, really want to, and in hindsight, for both of those instances, I should have just went out and did them myself.
Right.
I should have pulled a Don Lemon or a Joy Reid and just got a camera boy, paid him $300-400 for the day. Hey, man, set up these 2 cameras real quick. Yeah.
Well, look, I got a ton of journalism students who would love to work in conjunction with Roy Wood Jr. and what he's doing to get that story covered. And inclusive.
I can't no more. Coach Prime left for Colorado 3 weeks after that phone call with that woman, and I ain't been able to get a sit down with him since.
I gotta change course a little bit to talk about this book, Man of Many Fathers. It's like a memoir. You kind of describe it almost like a behavioral audit. And it makes so much sense because there's so many lessons. I mean, and actually, let me back up a little bit, because one way that we're connected is, I'm on the board of the Moth. I was a Moth storyteller. And the storytelling craft in this book, I'm like, oh man, Roy was bringing his comedic chops, but he was also bringing, is it fair to say you was bringing some Moth chops to it?
As Denzel would say, that's not for me to decide. I just did my job, man. I'm happy that some of it connected with people, though. For that, I'm eternally grateful.
This episode of Unruly Subjects is brought to you by Haymarket Books, which has loads of great left-wing titles, perfect for listeners like you. And one that I know you're going to feel is The Extended Universe, How Disney Killed the Movies and Took Over the World by Vicky Osterweil. A provocative history of Disney's rise to cultural dominance, The Extended Universe pulls skeletons from the corporate closet to decode the political messages hidden in all your favorite childhood movies. In The Extended Universe, Vicky Osterweil takes us on a quest to discover how Disney's Imagineers have made it impossible to reflect on the wonders of growing up without thinking of Disney's movies, amusement parks, and merchandising. Drawing on extensive interviews with filmmakers, screenwriters, union organizers, and Disney adults alike, Osterweil unearths reactionary political commitments and maleficent legal maneuvers so cartoonishly evil they would make one of Walt's own animated villains blush. As Natasha Leonard puts it, Osterweil is the brilliant, generous, and revolutionary guide we need to rethink cultural production today and kill the mouse inside our heads. Find The Extended Universe at haymarketbooks.org, where all hardcover books are 10% off every day. So, one of the things that really hit me is a lot of this book is about you talking about growing up, and you give us these really vivid memories of you as a child. So much of the book is happening through the lens of a child. It reminded me of, even just the way you talk about food, right? So you talk about, what it meant to be eating hot dogs with your mom in the car and, or to have a biscuit slapped out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, my pops,
I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I sometimes, she's very focused on food, so I just wonder, one question is, why did you choose the structure? Why did you choose to come in that way in this particular thing? Because, given your experience, this kind of memoir and this, biographical approach where you're really giving us these vivid details from your childhood, what made you come in that way?
For me, as much as I want to tell the story of who I am now, the more I realize how much of how I behave is connected to childhood. Mm-hmm. And which is why, it's Man of Many Fathers, but I start the book with my mom.
That's right.
Because, we didn't move in with my pops till I was in the 4th grade. So, it was definitely like just a different world before he came into it. And so when you look at who you are now, like, oh, you got all this drive and you're so focused and on the grind. Well, if I'm going to tell you a story about when I was in my 20s and when I'm in a city more than 2 days in a row, I would just go do day labor to make money during the day. But then you need to understand that this wasn't a new impulse. That's intrinsically who I am. And that started late middle school, early high school is when I really started trying to grind for money. Well, why weren't you just playing? Well, I didn't want to burden my mom because when the second and first in kindergarten, I remember laying in the bed and hearing my mom ask people, asking sorority sisters and stuff, if she could borrow money. So everything that's happening in my 20s and 30s and this grind and you a hustler, man. And Roy, your work ethic is one of the... That started because I didn't want to be a burden on my mom.
That's right.
So it wasn't some hustlers never sleep. It was, no, I just don't want my mom to worry about me. So what can I do to get a couple dollars today so she don't have to call Aunt Calloway to borrow $100? Oh, I can rake leaves. Let me go around this neighborhood and rake leaves. Oh, damn. I made a lot of money raking leaves. Okay.
It kind of reminds me for a minute of, you think about one of the songs I think that captures that kind of like what I'm just going to call hood desperation of wanting, of wanting financial freedom and independence is the song, by, What We Do Is Wrong, by Beanie Siegel and Freeway. What we do. And there's one line in there where he goes, when our heat stop working, then my heat start working. And I love how it connects in the same way your book does.
And Beanie Siegel says in that same song, we had to grind from the bottom just to make it to the bottom.
What?
Like, oh.
And I love the way that they're connecting choices that are not good life choices to make in terms of what they were talking about doing, but it's connected actually to loving and wanting to protect your family. And I'm not here, I don't think the point isn't to justify it, but to say,
Yeah.
we're often painted as inhuman and like this whole sort of predators, and not saying like, no, he's, Bean says we still tuck kids under covers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even when we out here doing this craziness, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I never thought about selling drugs just because I didn't have no OGs in the hood like that. Like most of the gangbangers, like I stayed at home. One of the best things my mom ever did was buy me a basketball goal. So I never had to go to the park where all the drama was happening. So most cats in the hood came to my house to shoot ball, but they respected me. Like in a way, it gave me protection because like all the GDs would come to my house to hoop, but they respected my mom and my pop so much. My mom was an educator at the time. She was Birmingham City Schools before she went to college, higher ed. And my pops was this respected radio DJ, and they knew who my dad was, and there was a lot of respect for my dad. So nobody was trying to recruit me to be a runner for them or hide a gun or, hey, go boost that car. Like nobody, like I walked home, like I used to tell a joke about it on stage. Like I'd be walking home with some of my classmates, 5th grade, 6th grade, they get their shoes stole. But if you take my shoes, you can't come over and hoop. So it gave me a little bit of a protection. But, the idea of being in this place where so many people were hustling, you just find what's yours. And that's the same thing that happened to me in college. Everybody was hustling. Some cats cut hair. I knew cats who would go to Easy Pawn, stock up on VHS and DVDs, and rent movies. Had a whole Blockbuster video in they joint. I knew cats who would iron clothes for money.
I used to sell the Muslim oils when I was in college.
See what I'm saying? All that random, them juices with the bottle with no label.
I had the whole whatever, Blue Nile, whatever you want. I had, you know what I mean? Incense, patchouli for the white people.
Bro, we would walk down to Winn-Dixie and we would buy the whole rack of Little Debbie snacks. We get like $40 worth of Little Debbie's and then sell them joints for 50 cents a piece and was killing them. You making $6 profit a box times 40 boxes. That's a nice week in college. And, then I started kind of getting into stealing credit cards and stuff. Back in those days, credit card numbers were printed in their entirety on gas station receipts. During the early days of pay at the pump, 97, 98, there was no idea of just put the last 4 digits. Don't put my full name on the receipt.
That's right. Which is crazy. You remind me that like you had the whole number on the car on the receipt.
Bro, so you could take that receipt and order pizzas and take those pizzas, sell them for $2 a slice. That's all profit, no overhead. So it was killing them. So that drive, even in college, that started way back in middle school. And then don't even get me into my pops and my mama arguing over money sometimes, and then my pops not paying a bill to prove a point. Well, now I'm really going to work.
Can we slow down there for a minute? Because the story you tell in the book, I mean, again, I don't want to, we're going to have to give a little spoiler here, and then you got to go read this. The account you talk about one night in particular of being, your father's a complicated man and you deal with him with nuance, but he would let the lights go out almost in a way that seemed like a kind of punishment. But at one point, you're saying the heat went out.
Yeah, sometimes he just wouldn't pay the gas bill. So then the house is cold. So now you're sleeping in a cold house, fully clothed. And then you wake up the next morning. Now, the hot water heater is electric. The stove is electric. So you can still eat. You can still take a shower. It's just the house is 40 degrees. So, what do you do with that? You figure out how to be in a position where this will never happen again. And the only solution to that problem is money. And the only solution to money is working. And either somebody gives you work or you create work. So I would figure out ways to create work for myself. Backslid a little bit in college, got caught, did probation, but that instinct never left. So when I was out on the road as a comedian, I'm in town in Columbia, South Carolina for 6 days. I'm making $200 minus gas. You think I'm going to sit in this hotel room all day and play PlayStation? I'm going to get a job. So now I'm outside pouring concrete in a pair of Air Max. You know how many sneakers I ruined, man, doing construction work?
No, that concrete story, I forget.
Because I ain't know to bring no boots.
No, and you said the concrete used to. I remember a detail. You said it used to come up and kind of like accumulate on your face.
Yeah, well, because we were working at a Quikrete factory where we're packing the quick dry cement. So it's just bags of just powder. And as you stack in the bags, the powder shoot out the side and they get in the air, it mixes with your sweat, and then you got concrete naps in your head for the rest of the day.
Oh, man, two things this makes me think about in terms of your work. One is that you're very good at talking about, listen, I'm somebody who talks a lot about, I want an economy where people have healthcare, where they can eat. These are called crazy leftist ideas. I just think, for me, I just feel like people should be able to eat and have education. And if you work in multiple jobs or even one job, you should, it's like you should be able to, just have the basics of life at least. But I feel like we sometimes in my world talk about these things in very abstract terms, and we're like, well, you got to read Marx and you got to read this and that. Whereas I feel like in your stories about your actual hustle, you're talking about what capitalism feels like to live through it.
I never thought about it like that. Yeah. You have to figure out a way. And then even then, it's not paying you well, and it's not necessarily rewarding.
That's right. I think about all the different things, because you talked about, look, the stuff you're talking about is stuff that theorists about economics would talk about. Exploitation in a factory, literally a concrete factory. What is it like to do day labor? What is it like on the comedy hustle? You're like, most of the bookers we had to deal with was snakes, shady behavior.
Yeah, very much so. Everybody's trying to undercut everybody. In a lot of ways, I feel like America's that bar in Star Wars where they got to go and like hustle and lie and thieve and deal with all of these different folks just to get what you need. It's no real... It puts you on guard. So now you're basically trying to defend yourself from being hustled. And that's the energy you move throughout the world. And that doesn't just stay isolated to jobs. Now you think any woman trying to get over on you. Now you ain't sure what your kids is really. What's your relative calling too many times? I bet you want some money. Like, those things all start playing a role, bro. But yeah, it was an interesting time to like even just have to work. I remember the other thing that was kind of really stark in the book, and reflecting on some of the conversations I had with these people who I felt like I learned things from, was the idea that, oh damn, these people work this job because they have no other options. I'm just here because I'm chasing a dream that ain't paying me but $200 this week. But I got other stuff. I got a radio job back in Birmingham. I can grow. Wow.
You're like, this is a temporary step. This is not, I'm not, my dream is not to work like I can get up to $8 an hour. That's not the dream.
Yeah, when you meet people in these spaces that have become so, and I'm not knocking an honest day's work, but I met so many people who did not have dreams or gave up on their dreams working these jobs. And it's one thing to be where you are in life, but damn, my dude, you ain't got a dream. You don't have a hope. You don't have a greater want. Is this what this life is? Is if I don't act right, is this where I'll be sitting up dreamless, praying that asphalt don't roll up my ankle in these low top sneakers because I didn't buy boots? Nah, man, I got to go back to school. I got to graduate. I got to get a good job. I got to get funny at camera. I got to tighten up. So those are the things that started driving me, man.
And I thought the way you wove that together, and, the thing is that, again, in the abstract, kind of like political education language, we talk about alienation. We use words like immiseration. You were putting images on it. You're saying, I'm talking to a brother on the work site.
Yes.
And it's clear he doesn't have another plan. And I'm looking in his eyes, and you said he almost looks dead in his eyes. And that's not to diss him, right? You showing him care and respect. But I just want to say this. When I talk about policing, when I talk about some of these, the corporate work environment, one of the things that I think indicts it the most is what it does to people. right? It's like, for example, what the police do to people in uniform. You know, I mean, police are not known for being a very healthy, happy lot of folks. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And then also, these systems that are promised to us, oh, we have abundance, we have the market, we have this and that. Well, look at the people that are doing the work. How are we doing? So I just think you put such wonderful imagery on that, but also why the motivation to hustle. Because listen, it ain't like, this is one thing I'm just going to say straight up. I think there's a lot of white progressives who don't understand that black people are about the hustle. Yeah. Broadly, I'm not generalizing this. I don't want to paint us like that. And that goes all the way back, I think, to like after the Civil War. Like we couldn't rely on the state. We couldn't dream really of a state that was going to take care of us. We we got to have the
create
business.
Something within this, whatever this not working in my favor construct is. Cricket.
But then, of course, there's a very strong tradition of black people who thought critically and were in the socialist tradition. Angela Davis, all these other people. There's an incredible book about a brother named Hubert Harrison. So just for any of my subjects who's listening to that, who's like, nah, they like, Chenj, what about that part? But I just think I think your book really is something that people need to read in that regard. I want to talk about how you dealt with, because we meet so many interesting characters, including, your mom and dad. And all these characters we're meeting are flawed in different ways. And you found a way to kind of, I think, be real about their flaws while not limiting them to their worst moments or to the flaws. I mean, how did you approach that in the book?
I think with most everyone, I think there's something redeeming about everybody. And we have to remember to take the best parts of those people. So we have to present the best parts in spite of what I also observed, For a large part, I feel like my mother, she chose to sacrifice a lot of her own happiness for my well-being and growth. And is that the right or wrong thing? I don't know, but that's what she chose. And there was a price paid for that and how my dad treated her. Yeah, your son has his father in the house to choke him up if he acting bad in school and keep me out of a gang. But what did that cost her? And I don't know. And it's not something it's not a conversation that I've ever tried to breach with her. It's not for me to know. With my dad, I just present how I feel about him and how things make me feel, but give grace and honesty and perspective to what may have led him to particular choices that were not beneficial to me and my mom. And I think what helped a large part with that was I did an episode of Finding Your Roots, and, they discovered a few things. My dad lost his dad when he was 4. There was no other men in the house after that. Well, how does that inform his self-esteem? What does that teach? How many lessons on man stuff did he miss? So he may not even know what the hell he was doing in the first place, or acting in a space of his own sadness and anger and trauma around. My grandfather got disappeared in the night when my dad was 4.
That's right.
So that explains his journalistic crusade against racism for 7 decades. So I can completely understand what drove him was that this system of oppression and racism took his father from him. So I'm going to do everything I can to try and take it down. That's his ministry. And so when you know and you understand that, then it's like, oh, okay, I don't completely like how I feel or how it made me feel, but at least I understand. You're obsessively chasing after something, to end something, to do something about it, because it took someone from you. And then maybe you sought the comfort of random people. I'm my mom's only child. I'm the 9th of 11 kids. So however you want to do that math. So for me, it's very much like when you ask, how could I handle the balance? Well, it's just showing the understanding and showing what I discovered. I can't make everybody see any of these heroes as nothing more than just flawed people who had something redeeming in them. I don't think there's any heroes in this book. I think most everybody in here, myself included, you're in search of something or you're a little off. And I think that if you just see and recognize that as a reader, then you should feel more comfortable about yourself and the people that are around you.
Wow. No, I appreciate that. And I feel like at a time when there's a lot of forces trying to get us to look at people as very flat caricatures, whether we're talking about immigrants, whether we're talking about, poor folks, whether we're talking about people who work for the federal government,
Sir.
I feel like Man of Many Fathers is teaching us not just about a certain group of people in your life, but also how to understand people, how to understand even someone like a sex worker. I mean, some of the support you're getting, where we see on one hand the realities of how somebody's getting paper, but they, when you was going to, there's a great story about how when you were headed to the night at the Apollo, it's almost like at a certain point, the folks cheering you on are people in these underground economies.
Yeah.
There's two things I got to get to before we finish. The first thing is that this book was written as something that's addressed to your son.
Yeah.
And if there was one chapter or one big takeaway that you had to sort of like, your son could only read one chapter of the book, what would be the chapter you would have him read?
Final baked potato. Just the chapter about the last conversation I had with my dad and my regrets for not pressing him more on having conversations about our relationship, but also faulting him for not opening the door to that. Try to keep an open line of communication with your children at all times about how they feel about you as a parent, because somewhere in there you may learn something that helps you be a better parent and eventually a better friend.
Yeah, that's powerful. And by the way, you'll hear in my show Empire City, I talk about my father a little bit. I don't talk a lot about our relationship. I was close to my father, but I related to, that sense of, one, it being painful to see him when my father also died from cancer, to see him in that state, but also that sense of, I think it was probably my older brother who's also passed away. He had like a lot of unsettled business and matters that he never got to, but he just decided in that moment, like, this isn't the time. I don't think it was the time to unburden him, hit him with all that when he's on his cancer deathbed. And it's just, I think the way that you take us through that kind of processing is really needed. But to turn to our bigger question, interestingly, it seems like comedians played a role in how we got to this political moment, right? There was a kind of slight, at least, or depending on who you're talking about, pretty sharp rightward turn where comedians became really obsessed. A lot of comedians became very angry at what they understood to be the woke left, the wokeness, the fact that audiences have channels to speak back and say, I didn't like that joke, I was bothered by it. And that seemed to be part of the maelstrom of the kind of cultural shift that led to the election of Donald Trump. I'm not blaming comedians, but I'm just saying that part of the contention that they were making, which I think is a serious thing, is they were like, look, people want comedians to be political and that's not our job. That was what a lot of people are saying. And I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I have a take on it, but I think it's so I guess right now there's so much going on in the world. How do you understand what the role of a comedian right now? What do you want to offer to us? I don't expect you to solve all the problems, but I'm saying, what do you want to offer to us about how we should think about that?
I think every comedian, you just have to pick the things that you care about and make jokes about that. Not every comedian should carry the burden of political awareness, because some of you aren't really about it for real. And there's comedians that are far more dedicated and serious about it than I am. But so far I'll go into certain things. Most of my ministry is crime, literacy, and sports. Those are the things that I'm most excited and most gung-ho about, if I'm being honest. Like, those are the things that I care about.
Yeah, no, that's real.
So I don't really think about all of the other, because it's like as soon as you focus on one thing, people go, well, what about that? What about that? What about that? Ain't but 24 hours in a day, big dog, and I'm going to care about this thing, and then I still got to unplug and go recharge, because y'all also said take care of your mental health too, didn't you? So there's just a lot that's going on. I think that any comedian setting out to write a joke and thinking it's going to be the one that solves the problem at large, I think they're a little more arrogant than anything. I I think we're still the best truth tellers for sure, because I don't know if it's politicians anymore. And I don't even know what journalism is turning into, from a corporate side and people not believing it type side of the game. So I think the comedian's job is to present the things that are funny to you. The people who like it will find you. There's no attacks on comedy. There's just more ways to broadcast that you don't like it. Comedians ain't changed. The craft hasn't changed. People having opinions and the ability to espouse them, that's changed immensely. And some comedians care because they don't want to be hated and they want everybody to love them. So, you get banished into the thing. But all these comedians y'all said was canceled, they still selling tickets, thousands of seats per show. So
it's funny you say that, though, because I see, and I know I'm not alone, see you as one of the people where it's not like I'm necessarily saying your comedy is all about politics, but where you bring a level of political awareness that is kind of rare, I got to say, for a lot of comedians, at least in terms of the way you're able to meld the things.
Appreciate it.
And that was one of the things that really, I just was like, I feel like I'm going to get a real kind of, this is actually going to make me smarter, not just like, in a certain way. So.
Yeah, well, I try my best. I just try to present facts, put a little bit of funny in that, and then try to give you a new perspective to consider looking at something from. That's it. That's all I've ever tried to do. Never tried to solve any of it. It's just, have you tried looking at it this way? Oh, what about this? What about this? Okay, all right, thank you. Good night. That's my time.
I think you say it's a fresh perspective is what the language you use in the book, which is, I like that. And I think that matches.
Yeah, I try.
And by the way, I think one reason why I think the kind of work you do, and that actually I don't want to, when I hear comedians say, I'm not here to do these other things, I'm just here to tell jokes. One reason I think actually, as you were saying, I think journalists have a lot to learn from comedians about how to connect to people. Y'all are all over the country, all over the world. I was just talking to John Laster about this,
Oh, that's the man.
My man John Laster, incredible. And I was like, yo, bro, I think y'all have something to teach journalists, and I want to open those conversations up. And I also think you obviously have something to teach politicians, because it's about
I don't know if they'll listen.
It's about turning the Rubik's Cube around on perspectives, but it's also like y'all are in the rooms, y'all are in the country. I remember I'm friends with Mike Birbiglia, and Mike and I would sometimes argue over politics. And then I realized I'm arguing with somebody who's literally in rooms across the country with the real America, far more than I am.
Yes. Yeah. You're doing all these random rooms, man. You see America up close. It makes you see people as people and not party lines. But then you get back online, like, oh, damn, we done fell back into the groupthink.
Exactly. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. Listen, everybody, Unruly Subjects, y'all got to get Man of Many Fathers. It's going to be, you have permission to detach from the chaos of the world, curl up with this book, and learn. Roy Wood Jr., we respect you. You're always welcome on Unruly Subjects, and I just really am thankful to you for joining us and for all the work you're doing.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother.
All right. Yes. So that was Roy Wood Jr. The new book is Man of Many Fathers. It's out now wherever you get books. We hope to get Roy back on, and I hope y'all enjoyed that.
Let me get off. This is our ice cream stop right here.
And now, I want to welcome you on a delicious journey with my daughter and Yola. And remember, there's a call to action coming.
What if I take a bite of the cookies and cream ice cream, it makes me smart?
Uh-oh. I think I see the place.
Uh-oh, I think I see it too.
It's right there in the yellow.
I see it.
The Chinatown, the original Chinatown ice cream factory.
The original.
Yeah,
China.
we're here. We are here.
Here.
All right.
Yeah.
How you doing? Yeah, we heard y'all had some of the best ice cream in New York.
You can't beat us. We're 48 years old.
Woo! All right.
It's a hard choice.
What do you want? Which one do you want, Yola? You get one scoop, two flavors.
Two flavors.
I get 2 flavors.
Yeah.
Cookies and cream ice cream, and they're purple.
And a purple.
Ooh, the taro. All right, I like it. Oh my God, it's so good. Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
All right.
What if we see which ice cream place is the best all around the world?
Oh, I like that. But maybe we should start with New York, right? What if people hear our podcast and they start helping us figure out what the best ice cream places are?
So many people go like, we have a group, and one group goes to that ice cream place, and our group goes to the ice cream place that we just went to.
Ooh, or we could go to new ones, because we gotta try out Van Leeuwen.
What if the shop was free?
The ice cream shop?
What's up, y'all? Unruly Subjects is supported by listeners just like you. Join us at patreon.com/unrulysubjects. Yeah, go ahead and give us a call on the Unruly Hotline, 215-436-9212. That is 215-436-9212. Unruly Subjects is produced in partnership with Rohome Productions. Boy, I'm so proud of Rohome. Alex Lewis is Rohome's creative director. John Myers is Rohome's executive producer. Our original theme music was composed by Axel Kakutier. You know I'm proud of that. Alex Tatusian made our tile art and designed our merch. And you know the merch gotta be fly, so that's coming soon. There's a lot of other people who supported us and helped us get the show up and running. So I gotta give a big shout out to my wife, Sadaka Kumanika, and my daughter, Yola. Thank you. Gotta give a shout out to my assistant, Carissa. You know what I mean? Thanks to my friends, you know what I'm saying? D Noble, AD, Jacob, Doomy, Diane Hodson, Chioki Lanson, you know what I mean? People I'm just calling up randomly, recording them. Thank y'all, appreciate that. And thank you to Roy Wood Jr., you know what I mean, for blessing our first show. Next week is a holiday, so we're gonna come back at you the week after the holiday called Thanksgiving. And we're gonna have an incredible guest on there, Lovia Jachi. I can't wait for y'all to hear from Lovia. So yo, tell everybody you know about the show, and we will see you soon. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other, y'all. Peace. Rohome Productions. Unruly Subjects is supported by listeners just like you. Join us at patreon.com/unrulysubjects.